Hey, thanks for sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for making the time. And also what folks haven't seen was like tolerating me and Jason Mewes sitting there dreaming aloud for like 5 minutes before we did this. But that is such an important part of the process that they don't teach in film school. Nobody ever teaches you, which is like, writing is not this. That's muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
Like by the time you sit down to write a script, you've written it. This is just getting it out there and stuff. And so much of that is predicated on just daydreaming or sitting around with somebody else and spitballing. And at a certain point, like, we're discouraged from doing that sort of thing, like daydreaming. Like, you know, keep your head on the, you know, in the real world or whatever now. But it's so valuable. It costs nothing. Cheapest form of entertainment on the planet. Your imagination better than any fucking movie or anything like that. And like when you get it going with somebody else, like I've always been kind of more of a solo artist, just like, I got things to say, I don't need any help. But moments like that are beautiful and fun, where it's like you got two grown-ass middle-aged men. I'm 51, he's like 47. And we're like, ooh, what if it could be this? Ooh, what if it could be this? And normally that kind of conversation and conjecture is reserved for people who are stoned, right? They're like, hey, imagine if we did. But we know for a fact that we...
an idea.
Exactly. Like, and most things die in idea stage. But combined history, him and I, nearly 30 years at this point, I have come to realize anything is fucking possible.
Right on.
And so spitballing and daydreaming with him, something will come of it. Like, it won't just be like, well, that was a waste of time, or, oh, that was fun, but nothing will come of it. Like, that's also kind of the problem sometimes, is like, I don't get to daydream just for the sake of daydreaming, because I'm so conditioned now. And spoiled. I realize I'm breathing rarefied air. To know that, like, your daydreams could literally become things. You can get paid for that dopey idea. Like, your life has...
And you have.
Over and over again. So it's weird. So I do, there are times where I'm like, if I'm just like, hey man, I wonder if... I don't have that.
Right.
Like, because all my I wonder if has pragmatic applications. Like, it could come to be. Because I don't dream about shit like, I'm going to build a rocket and leave this planet. You know, all the shit I dream about is like, what if me and Jay did this? What if it was this? What if it... Or in the case of like the KillRoy NFT, it was like, what if we released the movie that way? Like, has anyone else done that yet? Would that be a cool thing? All right, let's try it.
Right. So that being said, that's a great
segue. Over to you, sorry.
No, it's totally
Otherwise,
cool.
I will do
Dude,
this
we could do this forever. We'll just keep changing cards. But what you were saying, like, the only bad idea is the one not talked about. Like, that's really, and when
I didn't say that. I wish I had. That's brilliant.
You can have
stealing it.
Done. No, what's funny watching you guys. It's, you know, you have a good idea. He's got a good idea, but together you make the great idea happen. And that's the greatest thing about collaboration. And that's kind of where I wanted to lead this question for you.
I gotta mark that moment, because if we wind up doing that thing we were talking about, it literally did come from him going like, oh, I could talk to, who did he say, before Van Gogh? I was shocked he even knew he was like the guy who cut Zero.
Yeah.
But he referenced somebody, Da Vinci.
Yeah.
He was, he made some goof about like Jay and Bob meeting Da Vinci, and suddenly it wasn't a goof where it's like, well, I've been watching a lot of like Schoolhouse Rock again lately and wondering why there's nothing like that. And then I'm like, oh, if you perceive a deficit, don't bitch, just make it. Like, you see a hole, fill it. Like,
so now let's just go back to NFT, because we could just be vamping forever. This is
very true.
Horrible. But so you've been talking about what you're doing now with Secret, and just the concept of the NFT, how it's an engagement opportunity for people to buy into, almost equity into your film.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how, you know, everyone can come up with their own KillRoy scene and create their own entity. My question to you is, what's next? Not the next part 2, part 3, part 4, but the concept of the NFT that you have put together now that we're pretty comfortable with and understanding. What's the next great idea? Like, where do you see this going?
I mean, here's the thing that a lot of people use NFTs as tickets and stuff for engagement. Like, being able to give them a real world incentive or added value is is kind of my aim. You know, I'm trying to figure out like how to put all these things together, but we spend a lot of time touring, like just on stage doing shows. In 2019, we toured Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, 65 cities and stuff. So, you know, it feels like, aside from the obvious, like I know me and David Shapiro have been talking, but he's the producer on KillRoy, been talking about building a View Askew universe metaverse. But that's, to me, low-hanging fruit. I'm all for it. It's great. But, like, I built a universe years ago, so it's like, sure, man, it's ready to go. And, like, as he was explaining it to me, I was like, oh, I played the Simpsons game on my iPad for years.
Who didn't?
Yes, like I built Springfield. I was like, I would totally fucking play this game and stuff like that. So I know there's that aspect of it, but like getting it to be like, you know, if it's a pass key, it's got to be used for like not just online engagement, but like real world engagement as well. And since I do a lot of both, like I feel like that's where I'll head with it. I'm not smart enough to see where the whole field is going with it. This much I know. If we do business at all, every studio is going to start releasing their entire back catalog,
right,
as NFT collecting.
So what I find really incredible is you not going for that low hanging fruit, just releasing a film you can buy the movie, like just buy the DVD type of thing.
Right.
But what's interesting is you have a lot of eyes on you now. And you referenced Spike Lee when you were talking to Tom from our network before, how when you were up in Minnesota, that they're all watching you. Is that daunting? Is that like is that a weird position for you to be in? Because you're such an indie filmmaker and now you're in the limelight.
Yeah, there are moments where, you know, you show an interest in the thing and you're taking a beating for it. Yeah. And right now, that's where we are with Web3. Like it's easier to call it Web3 because the moment you say NFT, people jump out of there.
I can't even spell NFT.
I'm a vegan, right? And when I started telling people I'm a vegan, like it wasn't me going, I'm a vegan, you should be one too. It's like, oh, I had a heart attack, so I went vegan. People get so out of their shit about it. They're like, well, I'm gonna eat 3 times as much meat now. And you're like, well, good luck with that. That's fine. So right now, when you say NFT, people are like, well, I know what that is. And it's like, well, not really. Like somebody was on Twitter before going like, how can you be involved in this NFT scam? I was like, look, I can't speak for other NFTs. I said, but I know what we're doing. We're releasing a movie in this world and in this format. And it's a digital format. I was like, I'm just doing something that in 10 minutes, every studio is going to be doing.
Right.
And I ain't doing it like to get rich. I'm doing it because it's nice to go through the door first on something. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm 51. How many times I get to say that in my career anymore? Like when I was a kid, I was first through the door on a lot of things and stuff. The older you get, the tougher that is to be like, hey man, I found new territory. And to me, that's when I said to David Shapiro, like, has anybody ever released a movie like in the NFT universe, like a complete flick? Like, we got this flick. What if we went there with it? Like, could be fun, blah, blah, blah. That was worth the journey.
Sure.
Right there. It's like, never mind, like, you know, thankfully we didn't have to worry about, like, it was a low budget movie. So we didn't have to worry about, like, boy, we got to make back a lot of money. But it felt more just like, honestly, it felt like something that a lot of people were going to be doing soon. And like, I felt like, well, why not do it first?
So it's a weird position because the good news is it's never been done before, so you can do anything you want. The bad news is that it's never been done before and you don't know what you want.
It's true. Well, I mean, I think Guy put it best. We were on stage today. He was talking about like what we're doing.
I gotta stop you for 1 second. Can you tell him to turn the music off for like 5 minutes? And we're gonna wrap it up, I promise.
No worries.
Because what you're saying is awesome, and I just don't want it to get all lost and stuff. It's not bad music.
It might be upset.
No.
So,
who is that? Thanks, Tom.
Jay called me a party.
I know we heard. So when last we left our hero, so I was saying, the good thing is it's never been done before. The bad news is it's never been done before.
Right.
Is that a daunting position for you to be in?
Sometimes, in as much as like you're going to take the bullets first through the door, takes the bullets. So there's the potential glory of like, hey, we did it for anybody else. But there's also, you become the poster child for something that a lot of people read half a sentence about online and have formed opinion about.
Now they're experts.
But the thing is, I got the benefit of having lived through all this before. I'm an old man, right? So I've got experience. So I'm a creature of the internet, and I was there for the advent of the internet. I was online at a time when you could say like, oh, I did the internet, it was great. And you hit everything.
It's when we called it the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
I'm 53, so I get it.
I mean, there was a time, kids, where you could see everything there was to be seen on the internet. Those days are long gone. So I've been around for a while, and I remember when the internet was the future, and then it imploded, the bubble burst, and nobody gave a fuck about the internet. It wasn't the future anymore, except those of us who stayed on the internet because we had a use for it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, of course, the internet, Web 2, became its own unique creation and changed and put everybody online. Your mom's online at this point. Your dad's online. Having lived through that, seen an expansion and a contraction, or watched a bunch of speculators fuck off because they're like, well, this ain't what I thought it would be, which was free money. I thought I would just open a laptop and it would spit money at me instead. Cleared a lot of space for I good portion of what I earn in this life is made online.
Sure.
Selling trinkets, selling tour tickets, selling me for a living.
Right.
So if I'd cut and run when everybody was like, oh, the internet's stupid, then what I'd be doing was I'd be playing catch up 10 years ago, trying to join it. Like my friend of mine, Ralph Garman, has this great perspective. He was on this radio show for years, almost 20 years, on K-Rock, called the Kevin and Bean Show. And he was the third guy. So he was the funny dude who did all the voices, but they never put his name in the title. And one day, as happens in the radio business now, consolidation, they sold to a different company. We got to get rid of a bunch of people, or, we got to cut money, and that means people go.
Right.
He having been there almost 20 years, he had a big salary, and they cut him. And, he was like, what the hell am I going to do? Now, we had been podcasting, doing this show called Hollywood Babylon for a good 2-3 years at that point. And it was something of a life raft for him. In as much as he was like, oh, I could just do this without K-Rock. So he built himself a Patreon and has his own show now, his own audience and stuff like that. And he was bitter about K-Rock, about getting let go of and stuff. And then he came to this incredibly healthy perspective where he was like, I honestly thought those dudes would throw me overboard. He's going, they pushed me right into a life raft. He's going, because 1 year later, that all of those people got fired. And he was already ahead of the curve in a field that was already getting crowded. So all those cats who, still had a job, they entered the market in a different time than he did. They followed his example.
Right.
But at the same time, they weren't met with as much success because he came in when it wasn't as crowded as it is now.
So that's the position you're in right now. As far as knock on wood, I mean,
very much.
Being someone who's your generation, I really understand that we're on the edge of being obsoleted unless we make sure that we are not.
Every damn day.
Right? So we have to reinvent ourselves.
Honestly, it ain't even them. I can't even point a finger to be like, and it's these people who are keeping me out. You just get old. I thought I'd be top of my game, creative, the edge forever. But it's tough. It's tough to do that. And so something like this, though, allows me to sharpen that edge again.
Right on.
Where I get to go, hey, man, this is akin to Clerks. If I was doing Clerks today, this is how I'd be doing it. I wouldn't be trying to make a movie to go to theaters. Who goes to theaters anymore, right? But I'd be like, well, wait a second, man. YouTube, I'd be giving it away for free. There's a way I can make my art, maybe sell my art, just like an artist. And this This is a field of fine arts. At the end of the day, man, it's like somebody's buying something because of what it makes them feel. And other people are going to assign value to it and whatnot. But like at the core of this is somebody going like, I like this. I want this. Same thing's been going on for years, since the beginning of time, since the beginning of commerce. You see a thing, it makes you feel good. You don't have to justify to anybody why you want it. It's yours. And in this world, it literally is yours. You can prove it on the blockchain.
Hey, I want to thank you for your time, man. This has been a great conversation. We could just keep going forever. And
I would truly.
Jay over there is like, he's like, we're done. Let's wrap this shit up.
The chain.
I know. We're building anticipation.
That's
it's all
true.
Good.
They're silently waiting.
Thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
This was a great conversation, man. It's great meeting you.
Thanks for chit chat.
My pleasure. So that's it. We're good.
Tell them to turn the music up.